Mr. Austin Scott, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Levine, as you were talking about the perception, I was reminded of a few years ago that my wife and I were at a class before our little girl was born, and I listened to the nurse at the front of the room talk about how bad biotechnology was in agriculture and how good it was in healthcare. And certainly the perception, the GMO, it sounds like you're going to become a zombie if you eat something where in the end it's biotechnology. And so interested in your thoughts on how you intend to change the perception. Obviously people would be paying a tremendous amount more for food today, not only in the U.S. but around the world. And quite honestly, I think that biotechnology is one of the ways that we're going to help eliminate starvation around the world. And so what ideas do you have about how you're going to change the perception of the use of biotechnology in agriculture?
Well, Congressman Scott, you're exactly right. I think one of the things that we did early on with biotechnology and what we're trying to learn from in that arena is we based everything on science. Trust us, the science says it's okay, it's good, all of those things. And it's something that we're dealing with. I would say it's not just within biotechnology, it's within agriculture in general. There's a perception of this bucolic lifestyle on the farm, and it still should be 40 acres and a mule instead of how agriculture has evolved because of innovation. And biotechnology was the first one out there that really got the focus. And our efforts here as we talk about plant breeding is how are we as transparent as possible? Let's talk about breeding. Let's talk about the solution that plant breeder is trying to find. Biotechnology will be a part of tools like, or methods like gene editing. You'll be able to create new transgenics using those methods. But we'll also be able to create new methods, new varieties using these methods that could be disease resistant or resistant to pest, or have a longer shelf life, or help even in the mechanization issues, as we did with tomatoes in the early 60s, 70s, I believe. So there's where we have to get the message out that this is nothing new. We know more and more about plant physiology today to be able to target those characteristics that are naturally occurring in that plant's family.
Well, it's extremely important, especially the ability to grow crops in different areas as the seed becomes more drought resistant and requires less water, less pesticide, less other things. It's extremely important to the environment. And the facts are, if you look at the science, there's no discussion to be had. This is an emotional argument that's not based on the facts in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Winger, you mentioned in your testimony olives and olive oil. That's something that many Georgia farmers are using now to diversify their crop. I was surprised to find out that the grading standard on olive oils, it took 62 years to upgrade that standard, and yet approximately 50% of the U.S. olive oil sold, 50% of the olive oil sold in the United States does not meet the grading standard. Is that still the case today? And any suggestions on how we make sure that the consumer knows that what they're buying on the label isn't necessarily what they're getting?
Yeah, it's been a real issue, and I know the olive oil growers, they're now setting up standards that they can work with, but 96% of the olive oil consumed in the United States is imported. So there's a huge growth curve for domestically produced olive oil, but again, a lot of folks don't know what's in that bottle. Mislabeling has been a very real issue and continues to be an issue. And so that's why I think through the Farm Bill, really promoting domestically produced olive oil, and that what's in that bottle is what you're getting. That is clearly the direction we need to go.
It is. We tried to address this in the last Farm Bill, and unfortunately we lost. But it's not so much just promoting. It's not so much promoting U.S. grown olives or olive oil from U.S. grown olives. It's that what is imported and put on the shelves is labeled at the same standard that the U.S. is labeled at. And so I certainly know I would appreciate your input and your support as we go forward in the next Farm Bill to make sure that if somebody is selling what is labeled as extra virgin olive oil, it actually is extra virgin olive oil if it's purchased off a shelf in the United States.
We can definitely get you more information. I know Jamie Johansson, my first vice president, is olive oil, first generation olive oil grower in California, and so we can get you some more information.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for your testimony. And Mr. Wisnowski, I wish it was as simple as you put it. Unfortunately, there are 535 people up here that think they're the best chef in the kitchen. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time and your testimony.
Jim, his time expired.